please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Troy High football defeated New Rochelle 17-14 in the Class AA regionals on Friday, November 10th. This week they take on Newburgh Free Academy in Middletown, New York, at the state semifinals, November 18th at 7:15 p.m. The Troy High Drama Club presents A Polar Bear in New Jersey, a comedy by Ann Minetch on Friday, November 17th at 7:30 p.m. and on Sunday, November 19th at 2 p.m. Public input on agenda and non-agenda items. The Board of Education recognizes that it serves the residents of the enlarged City School District of Troy, New York, and so we encourage public attendance at our meetings, and we welcome your comments. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes, so that everyone who wants to speak has an equal chance to do so. If you are unable to finish your remarks during the 5-minute time frame, you can supplement them by submitting a written statement to the board clerk. The board regrets that because of time constraints, it cannot respond during the public comment period to questions raised. We know that all speakers will display the courtesy and respect in their remarks that is emblematic of our Troy community. We appreciate your input. Is there anyone wishing to speak this evening? Just come.
This evening to make my family's concerns known as well as my own for our Troy High athletics program. I'm finding some lack of objectivity in how student athletes are chosen, and I have made my concerns known to the athletic director and had a conversation with a specific coach. I've emailed Mr. Carmelo as well as the principal, and I will gladly share my individual concerns with the board if you need to know them. But I did just want to make sure that you were aware of the concern and that something would be done to address it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Not, then we will turn it over to Dr. Ford for the School 16 Principal's Report.
I would like to begin by thanking Superintendent, Cabinet, Board of Education for providing the opportunity to present once again regarding School 16 programs. I want to begin by recognizing not only my staff but my colleagues, because this really is a team effort each and every year in terms of our efforts to improve achievement for our students here at School 16. The collaboration that takes place not only amongst our faculty and staff, but amongst our colleagues, and our conversations, sharing best practices. It really is a team effort to make sure that all the students, not only at School 16, but throughout the district, are succeeding and improving their achievement. So I appreciate your support. So definitely a round of applause for our faculty and staff and our colleagues. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. So the performance data, 5-year trend for student performance for the past 5 years here at School 16. Very, very excited, very impressed, very proud of our faculty, staff, students, and parents. Once again, we did see an increase in our ELA proficiency, our math proficiency. Although we did not get the gains we expected, to maintain that level of performance, to be near state average is just remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And once again, after seeing these results, our faculty and staff, we met this summer, we're right back to planning again about how we can increase our achievement once again, and we set our numbers even higher. The one thing we're finding is, as we set our numbers higher, the great thing about setting numbers that high, when you fall short, you're still winning, right? And that's a great approach to take. So the other thing we see with our results is we're finding some strategies that are providing some consistency in our results, and we know things will work for our students and our teachers in the classroom. So there's some practices and some resources that we utilize, and I'm going to show you some of those resources. And we have what we call our library of resources, classroom resources, and it's getting longer and longer each year. And I definitely want to thank you for signing those requisitions and for the board approving the use of some of those funds that we use each and every year to buy those resource materials and books for our students that are really, really helping our students. So very proud of that. So each year we look at our gains and our growth. We try to really target the reasons why, and the areas why. So our big thing here is replicating practice. So successful practices we see at grade levels. Every grade level has some great areas where they're seeing some increases among individual students, among cohorts of students and groups of students. And we're trying to make sure that we share those practices and we replicate those practices throughout the building. So once again, with our performance data, you know, we're for 3 years in a row, we're right there at the state average for math proficiency. For once again, it's remarkable. I've never, as a principal, been part of a school that had really been able to have that accomplishment. So that's remarkable, not only to the hard work of our students, but our staff who are here all the time. They really do put in a lot of time to really work with our students, make sure they're successful. Once again, a school in good standing. We're 4 years removed from that last designation, and that was a process that we went through, but it was very valuable because it provides you an opportunity for reflection. And this past year, the state did come in as part of a visit to just give us some feedback on some of our practices. And it was great, once again, because we were able to take some of our approaches and some of our structure and practices and show the state what we're doing, and they gave us some great feedback. And once again, we took that feedback, we shared it with our colleagues, and we came up with some better methods for supporting our students. So once again, it provides the opportunity for, once again, reflection. And sometimes, you know, an outside perspective is very good. From that, I'm going to show you a little bit more about that later, we were able to put some other resources in place to support our students. So since I started here, we doubled the percentage of student performance at proficiency in ELA and nearly doubled our student performance at proficiency in math since 2012. And we're seeing that shift to the right, which is what the state always talks about, moving those 1s to 2s to 3s to 4s. That's something we're really keeping a close eye on, because it's not just about students being proficient, it's about students growing and getting better. So with that, we want to see those numbers shift to the right. We're watching those numbers very closely, and that's part of our research question and part of our area that we're looking at as an increased area of focus at our school. Discipline data. Once again, discipline is a role, students being successful. And the one thing we introduced a few years ago was the turnaround. Once again, thank you for that support. Right? The approval for that, and the teaching assistant that supports students in that room. And once again, as you look at the numbers for total students out of school suspension, these are just the Vader numbers. So these are single. This is just one incident of a student. So there's 18 students total, and some of them were repeaters. So there's multiple suspensions for some of those students. But if you look at the numbers of those Vader suspensions, and we were able to, for the past few years, to maintain consistency in terms of identifying the students that need that support. And then with that, you see with the in-school suspension numbers that the numbers are increasing, but we're able to maintain students in the school and maintain them in terms of doing their work and then reintegrating them into the classroom and supporting them in the classroom. So they're getting back in, they're getting that support, so they're able to be successful. So once again, the in-school suspension room is a great support. The big focus this year for our PBIS committee with these numbers, and we do have some goals, I'm going to show you in a few minutes, is to support teachers better with those tier 1 interventions in the classroom. Some of the things that students may show in terms of behaviors, not showing up prepared, or not being engaged in the assignment. We're trying to support better. We were giving recommendations to those teachers, and we did bring back also our school store. So it's school-wide, we're doing dojo, class dojo school-wide. Parents are able to observe how our students are doing in terms of the dojo points and behavior, and then we open up the school store where students are able to select items to be rewarded for their great behavior. So this summer, we met different committees, our school leadership team, our RTI team, our PBIS team, and we all created an action plan for the school. And all of these action plans align with the district goals of improving achievement, or decreasing out-of-school suspensions and in-school suspensions, and improving behavior throughout the district, and making sure students are college and career ready. The school leadership team action plan, the goal increasing achievement on New York State exams, 16% growth in ELA, 10% growth in math, and we set the targets high at 50% for ELA and math for this year. So with that, we went through our student rosters, and we looked at how students performed the past few years, and we set those targets. And we also created supports for students to make sure they could be successful. So the one thing we did for those students that are borderline students that barely made the cut proficiency on level 3 or fell short on the other side, we established some increased support for them. So some of those students are going to be involved, participate in the ELA and math enrichment program all year after school, and also they're going to get that increased focused support during their intervention blocks. So our school leadership team, their role is to monitor the school improvement plan with the integration of efficacy, monitoring the action steps, monitoring the grade level data, and that's the student performance and all the different assessments they're taking this year, and to provide feedback to grade level teams. And also, part of their responsibility is to monitor the implementation of library resources and materials for kindergarten through 5th grade classes. And the big thing is to make sure that every teacher on grade level is on the same page and doing the same thing. RTI action plan, goal is a 20% increase in overall student achievement as assessed by students receiving Tier 3 instruction moving to Tier 2, students receiving Tier 2 instruction moving to Tier 1. So that's that movement to the right, that push to the right to make sure all students are growing. There is an increased focus for us for those students that are receiving those intensive services. We're seeing that those students, it takes longer to move them. We're trying to implement more resources, more supports for them to make sure that we can build those skills so they can move to the right. Review of student data, resources, and instructional practices is also the role of our RTI team. Our RTI team meets quite frequently to review teacher referrals regarding students that are having concerns regarding their behavior or instruction. So, RTI team members here? Oh, yeah. So part of our roles involve parents and educate them on some things in terms of what can help their child be successful not only in school but at home. And that parent feedback is critical because sometimes you get that information that you didn't know about that may involve something in the home or outside of school that could really help in supporting students. Our PBIS team action plan, goal, target goal for total out-of-school suspensions, 39 total, those were the repeaters. Those 18 repeaters will be 31 total out-of-school suspensions in 2018. The target goal for in-school suspensions, total 269, will be 215. So that's single instance of students reporting to in-school suspension. Part of that is our PBIS meetings to review the discipline data, our school-wide class dojo, along with our school store, counselor and school psychologist counseling groups and class presentations, and PBIS monitoring discipline data, resources, and student support. So school turnaround, like I said before, this really is a team effort, and there's no one factor that attributes to a school showing the kind of gains that we've demonstrated the past few years. It really is an ongoing, continuous effort, and really maintaining the level of commitment to the things that you really committed to initially, while you add on new approaches and strategies. So with that, our district monthly grade level meetings and faculty meetings are focused on discussions regarding data and teacher instruction. Our data liaisons for kindergarten through 2nd grade and 3rd through 5th grade, we're able to meet with grade level teachers to make sure they were well supported in terms of the assessments and making sure they can monitor data and make sure they can report the data in a timely fashion. So that took place this past grade level meeting. Once again, I'll go back to our district-wide elementary master schedule, which we didn't have before. That's been in place for a few years now. That's going a long way to supporting sustained instruction and concentrated blocks of instruction 2-hour reading and writing block and 40-minute intervention block, along with our 60-minute math block. Part of our conversations this summer was around our continuation of our math intervention block, which we've had in place for the past few years, which we definitely attribute that as a contributing factor towards our improvement. So that's 2 days a week on our Thursday and Friday. This year also for ELA, we made a commitment to have one reading teacher service our lowest performing groups or most intensive kids every day of the week. So two of our reading teachers will go support for math push-in during those 2 days, and that one reading teacher maintains that support for that group of students, the lowest group of students in the building, to make sure we can move them. Shifts in our reading services and grouping based on assessment data, that's ongoing and continuous. We're going to regroup our students after the break. Shared literacy coach support for classrooms. So we're very lucky to have Ms. Allen, who we share with School 18, and that allows us to definitely coordinate programs and definitely share ideas between schools, and we're very appreciative of that. Implementation of additional supplemental materials for K through 5. And once again, our data liaisons, that's a new position for two of our grade level teachers. Ms. Jakes for K through 2, Ms. Donovan Davis, who I do believe is here, for 3 through 5. They do a great job. They set a high bar, and a high standard. And the one thing about our teachers is they always want to make it better. And it's good to have a little freaking competition. So what usually happens is, they show a model, someone looks at it, then you'll see some names highlighted for different groups of kids and bands in terms of how kids are performing, and then another idea gets shared. Before you know it, everyone's doing, you follow that same approach. And that's something that it's been something that's been consistent here, that sharing practices and approaches without the concern of someone else's class performing better than my class, that's not there, and I appreciate that approach and people taking on that role. But we're very fortunate to have the liaisons support us this year. Monthly ELA and math DFS meetings, something we are doing different this year as opposed to previous years. Before we used to meet with ELA, have our data feedback strategy meetings with ELA and math in one setting. So this year we split that up to 2 different meetings. So once each month, we had one today. The ELA DFS meeting took place today. Last week was the math DFS meeting that took place. So we just focused strictly on that content area and the data that we see during that time at that grade level. Talk about push-in support. Myself, along with Ms. Allen. For ELA, it's Mr. Nardo and Ms. DeCiana. For math, it's Jen DeMarco, Christine Wilmar from our OCs. Along with them, Ms. Gallimore and Mr. Abrams have joined our meetings, and great discussions, great feedback, and we're able to really build on information and build on approaches. So once again, that's once monthly for each subject area. The Building DFS support team in meetings, our school leadership team is taking on part of that role, along with myself, Ms. Allen, and we also have meetings, myself, Ms. Allen, with Mr. Abrams and Ms. Gallimore each month. We're having those discussions about how this data contributes towards a bigger set of data, which is referred to as the Multiple Measures Index. We're trying to get a really good understanding of what data points will give us the best understanding of how students will perform on a future test or a future assessment. So that's something we're working on right now. And also our district level meetings amongst principals and sharing practices and data, what's taking place along with Mr. Carmelo has been very beneficial. We started that this year. And the individual meetings with the superintendent and principal data meetings provides another opportunity to really share what's happening in the building and get that feedback and support from our superintendent. So very appreciative of all that support. School turnaround, part of our plan to continue to expand our professional learning community opportunities to make parents and students equally informed and engaged in school turnaround efforts. Part of that was the School 16 newsletter, and that's something that I decided to take on and do more of to really inform our parents of all the the important details of what's happening in the school. So our newsletter has expanded a little bit. It's a lot more information in it, and that's part of our effort to make sure they're well informed. Our presentations, which we take place during parent conferences, and also distribution of parent resources. Extended day programs, once again, we still have a lot of our partnerships in place. Our School 16 YMCA Advantage program, they are in the process of expanding the number of students to 60 students in the program. That's something that we're very excited about. That takes place Monday through Friday from 2:15 to 6 p.m. Once again, that's free, no cost to parents. The mobile tutoring program is back in this year, 43 students enrolled. That's on Wednesdays from 2:15 to 3:15. Our ELA math enrichment program, going back to what I said earlier, we really are focusing on supporting a specific group of students with that program to make sure that the students that were proficient stay proficient. The students that are slightly below are well supported to climb up and be proficient. IT of the Mind program and the McKinney-Vento tutoring program is also taking place, but we still have our partnerships with TSL, Boys and Girls Club, CYO, and Home 7. So the School 16 Library of Resources, past resources, and this, you may, I've seen some of these resources in other presentations, or are aware that they are present in other schools, but once again, our readers and writers notebooks, school math workbooks, that really is the basis of our instruction there. And then from there, we've integrated some test prep materials, Rally Education, Ready New York Test Prep, math workbooks, Common Core Math for Today. A lot of resources we use that are some of the supplementals. Some of it is just based on feedback from teachers on what works. Some of the successful practices we've seen at grade level, some of it, from every grade level. A teacher would make a recommendation and then do a presentation to the faculty or myself on how it can work for students, and we try it, and if it works, we continue to order those materials. And some of it may be a 5-minute worksheet in the morning, a math-minute worksheet to build skills. And some of it may be more of an extended use of the resource, but for us, every resource matters. So thank you once again for your support and allowing us to use them to provide these resources. So this gives you an idea there. And then just want to conclude by, none of this is possible without teacher leadership. And it's not just, for me, the highest level of principal leadership is when you have faculty and staff that is willing to embrace leadership and take on the roles that sometimes you won't see faculty take on. So the literacy coach, the math and science curriculum leader, ELA and social curriculum leaders, the K2 and 3-5 data liaisons, and technology liaison, and our committee work. And these are all things that, when our staff shows up for these meetings, they're really giving 110%. Like it always matters. And it does always matter. And I think that's indicative of some of the results we see. So I'm very appreciative of that. Once again, I'm very proud of our teacher leaders, our staff leaders, and very excited about how our results are going to look next year. So looking forward to that. This is my presentation.
Any questions? Thank you. Now we'll have a School 2 community school projects. Mr. Hoteling.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Hoteling Assistant Superintendent for Business. We're here to discuss the Community Schools Grant, specifically the capital portion of it. In the audience tonight is also Julie Curry and Tay Turner-Hassel, who hopefully can answer any other questions that I don't answer in this presentation. This is definitely a group effort by numerous people thus far, and it's a great opportunity to talk about tonight and get some input from the board. In 16-17, New York State approved a state budget that appropriated $75 million to community schools funding. That's statewide, $75 million. Approximately $50 million went for program, and $25 million was allocated for capital costs or capital improvements, building level facilities improvements. Only approximately 20 schools were recipients of that funding, one of which was Troy. We were awarded $550,000. You can see the breakdown here, $362,000 for program and $188,000 for capital improvements. Julie came to me probably, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago and said, we're recipients of this grant. Now what do we do? So then we had a lot of questions. We had to go back and forth with the state numerous times. And we're here tonight essentially just to discuss, for the most part, the capital piece. This grant is a one-year grant. It runs from July 1st to June 30th. So any decisions that we were to make have a very short timeline. I've got a slide later to discuss that, but it is just this one-year grant. So the capital piece. The first question I asked Julie when she came was, do you know if we can, if that's just the amount we get, $188,000, or can we use that, much like Excel money was used a couple of years ago, to leverage against our building aid and do a larger capital project? Because $188,000 is not going to do much in terms of scale on a building. The state came back, and to my surprise, they said, yes, you can use it as your local share. And see down at the bottom, that is a rare opportunity. I have never seen it. A lot of times we get the big five, Rochester, Syracuse, they get some grants where they can do large capital improvements. But this is one for Troy where we can. Our current building aid ratio is 87.9%, so approximately 12% comes from the local share. We usually, when we calculate how much the local share will cost, we do it conservatively because in capital projects, something is always kind of seen as valuable, a little piece here, a little piece there. So on our conservative calculation, that means Troy can essentially do a $1.2 million capital project for community schools at School 2. So that means $188,000 comes from the grant. The other approximate million comes from state aid, and it's no cost to the Troy local taxpayer. That's always a big selling point, and essentially, with the grant and state aid, this is free money to do an improvement for community school improvement at School 2. These bullets are taken directly from the grant webinar presentation. This is what we can do with that capital improvement money. That's health guidance suites, resource remedial rooms, adult education, parent community rooms, CTE classrooms, anything else as a catch-all, anything else to establish a community school. As you know, this is not the first step at School 2 to create a community school environment. We already have a community room there. We already have positions there to provide services to students and families to make it a community school. So we kind of hit the ground running and had ideas right out the gate. So myself, capital project team of architects, Julie, Tay, and Lakeem all met, and Mr. Gardner, Director of Facilities, all met and said, okay, we've got this, we know the timeline's short, what are we going to do? So we met twice, we've come up, try to assess the needs, what do we want to do, how can we better utilize our space in our buildings, and I'll show you that on a future slide. And the question is how are we going to do this? Because as you know, normally capital projects take multiple years to get done, and the time here is very short. So at the meeting, this is the first floor of School 2. I apologize, it's very small. But this is the main entrance in the middle. And we discussed a preliminary design of having a health community and social emotional wing. On the left, if you take a left, right, when you come in the main office of the building. The main office is here, and the orange shaded areas are possible areas of construction. Here we have student locker rooms, which are right now really just being utilized as storage, not the most efficient use of that space. And then we have an art room down the end. We are focusing on that wing to have these services centralized, not just all over the building, where students and families can receive those types of services in the best manner possible and to the most efficient way. Really, Ite, I kind of got a vision, I think, about what that's going to be, and we're trying to implement that with the amount of dollars that we have. I believe in the grant, it's establishing partnerships with health providers, with social emotional providers, and it's about building space that is both private and adequate to provide those services. Right now, over on the other side here, we have a community room, and I'd say about one private space, and we need more than that. And this funding allows us really to get there. In terms of the timeline, it's extraordinarily aggressive. We recognize that going into it. Again, the grant period is just this year. I did have to talk to New York State, and we'll have to report on the grant by June 30th, but if we're looking to move forward, as long as the district commits to completing that work in the following summer, then the state will allow us to do it during the summer construction season. So that was what they allowed that. Again, this would be a capital project, however. So any capital project is subject to board resolution approval, and then it's also subject to voter approval. Anytime you do a capital project, borrowing any funds, it requires voter approval. Looking at the summer construction season and then backing up, we don't have a lot of time if we were to act on this. A board resolution could be at our next meeting. There's no lead time required for that, just a matter of if the board wanted to move forward. You have to provide a 45-day notice to the public before you can have a public vote. That would bring us out at the earliest would be January 23rd. That's Tuesday. We would work as fast as we could in the next couple of months to get plans and specs ready. That would then go into the State Education Department for approval. With this grant, the State Education Department is expediting reviews. We are going right to the front of the line, which is great. We anticipate 30 to 60 days for approval, and then we go out to bid in April for a bid opening and award, and then the work would be happening next summer. So it's a very aggressive timeline. It goes right to the top of the priority list, really both for the district and for S&D. And it's doable. At first, when I talked about it with Julie, I said, this is never going to happen. Not this timeline you've given us. They made it very difficult. But we've got a lot of questions answered, and we're on our way, assuming that's what we want to do. I try to keep it as short as possible. I think Dr. Ford had like 20 slides. I had 7. I try to cover as many bases as possible. Any questions you have, feel free. This is, there's not a lot of time to waste, so you can't have multiple meeting after meeting to discuss.
Does the grant cover the cost of the election?
The grant does not cover the cost of the election. That's a great question. It would be an election just like any other election we've had. We have the same polling places. Mary Beth could definitely speak to as to how we do that, but it has to be the same. It can't be different, it can't be centralized or anything like that.
So we'd still have the same cost coming out of our budget for this?
That would have to be a local cost, yes, that is true.
It's about $3,000 to $4,000, and it's already in our budget line.
So it's about $3,000 to $4,000 to do that.
We forgot to say we can and will end the story.
That should be on the template that I received, but it was not. I'll make that recommendation to the superintendent's office.
Well, if we do this, we're going to have to go out to the, I take that back. When we do this, we are going to have to approach the community in such a way that that we have to convince them that it's not going to cost them any money, because that's, we will get the people, the naysayers out there first. And not that I want to put you on the spot as what you quoted at capital project meeting today. I asked you a question that we have those people that go out there and no matter what, they'll say to us, no matter what, it's gonna cost, my taxes are gonna go up. And you answered me with a great answer, and I think that's something that you should share with the board. So if I put you on the spot today.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm going to say, so that's a great question. You know, anytime capital improvements come up, especially when, you know, in this last go-round with 23.3 million, you know, we said no future cost to the taxpayer. The taxpayer says, you know, I pay state taxes, you know, I'm going to pay for it one way or the other. And I understand what that comment is saying. However, you know, the state provides education funding. Troy needs to fight for every dollar we can get. And if it's not coming to Troy, it's going to go somewhere else, I can guarantee you. It's either going to go to New York, or it's going to go to Buffalo, or it's going to go to Syracuse, or wherever. And in this grant, we're just trying to maximize the amount of dollars that can come back into our community to make this school district the best we can possibly do. You know, that's what's going to be the reality. They've given us the grant, they've said we can do this, and honestly, you know, I don't like to speak like this in front of the board normally, but I feel like it would be foolish if we didn't utilize the funds to the best of our ability. We're essentially getting $1.2 million from the state to make an improvement at school too. I understand it's at one school, but it'll help the district as a whole in the long term, and it's great for Troy. You know, that may be an improvement. If we didn't do it this way, maybe we'd make it the next capital project. Therefore, it frees up $1 million that could be used on anything else. So I think, you know, I understand what Jason said. We do have to hold an election, but that's very minimal for the return. To spend $3,000 to get $1.2 million, I think anybody would do that. But you know, it has to get the approvals.
We'll have to hold an election. We'll probably also have to do rounds where we go to the PTAs and different groups in each school, right?
Right. I mean, I think it's in our best interest. It's not a requirement, but I think it's in our best interest to educate everyone about it.
The board is in favor. We'll put it on the December 6th for a board resolution, and then we'll move forward with all the requirements to get the.
So if we put it on the board for December 6th, our public vote will be January 23rd. That's a short time.
Yeah. So, very short timeline. There's the holidays. We don't normally like to do winter votes, but we don't really have much of a choice.
Well,
Those are our most successful.
also, we also have a good audience. We have our concerts and all of our things going on in our elementary level throughout the holidays. I know we can't tell people how to vote, but we can tell them to vote. And I think, right, and I think too, if we say eventually all of those kids, all of those children will be in our middle school with all of our kids. So it's a win-win, you know, so, you know, we love Catholic Project, so let's go.
All right, we'll have to sign up for the.
Excellent. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Ash.
Moving on to the agenda. Staff matters unclassified. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 14. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Staff matters classified. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 6. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Superintendent recommendations for programs. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 4. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Superintendent recommendations for business and finance. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 3. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Board resolutions. Move for consent agenda items 1 and 2. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Discussion of future meetings. December 6, 2017, 6:30 p.m. at the Troy Middle School. And December 20th, 2017, 6 p.m. we will be at School 2. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss prior to adjournment?
I just sent everybody an email. I apologize to Mr. Flores. or Dr. Porter for using my phone. But I sent everybody the flyers for School 12. We won't be before, there's a fundraiser for the School 12 program down at Brown. Last year I was joined by
We
Mr.
got the,
Schofield.
I'm sorry, Mary got something in case everybody
Okay.
thinks, we did get that, yes.
Okay, so but I just want to, if anybody knows anybody in the district that would like to donate to the fundraising, there's great raffles there. I'm sure somebody in School 12 will be happy to receive any of the donations that we could point our way. So, but hopefully we'll see board members there. So last year it was a lot of fun. And thank you to Brown for doing this too.
Thank you. I'll see you there. Make a motion to adjourn? All those in favor?
Uh,